story I'm about to tell you happened to me when I was 11. I was in 6th grade. The school I attended was across the street from a beat-up looking house that honestly scared the living out of me as a kid. It just looked old and disgusting, and I couldn't understand why, if someone was living there, why were they okay with how the outside of their house looked? Whenever me and my friends passed by that house on our way home from school, they'd make fun of it. I would scold them and say that the owner of the house wouldn't be too happy to see a couple of middle schoolers making fun of a place where they lived. Of course, my friends made fun of me for being scared of a reaction. I was a pretty big scaredy cat as a kid, seemingly afraid of an adult's angry reaction all the time, so they were not wrong. Passing that house was okay at first, but once October came and my friends were staying after school for the programs they did, things started going downhill from there. It started in the 2nd week of October, my first time walking home from school alone in a while. As per usual, I walked by that creepy house, but this time, something was off and different. As I passed, I noticed someone from the house window was standing still, seemingly staring directly at me as I walked by. I was freaked out by that, of course, but nothing happened besides that, so I brushed it off. But it kept happening as the days went by with me walking home from school, with that same person watching me from their window. I couldn't tell if they were a male or female, but it didn't matter to me. I was scared shitless about being watched. I would tell my friends about it, and they would shrug it off and say that maybe the person was playing an early Halloween trick on me and trying to purposely scare me. I believed them and would scold myself for being scared easily. But a week before Halloween, as I'm doing my usual walking home alone from school motto, I noticed the tall silhouette of a figure standing on the porch of that house, watching me walk by. I was scared, but I tried to be calm and brave and walked past the house. That's when things took a bad turn. As I walk by, the figure suddenly flies down the steps and starts to chase me. I scream at the top of my lungs and put some pep in my step and start to run. It seemed like I wasn't running fast enough. Whoever was chasing me was gaining on me. The person was seemingly a dude, judging by the voice, and he was yelling things at me that made absolutely zero sense at all. I knew I had to hide somewhere, and quick. So I ducked into an alleyway and hid behind a dumpster that smelled horrible, trying not to make any sudden noise that would help this crazy person find me and potentially hurt me. I could hear his footsteps stop by the alleyway, and I could also hear him mumbling words to himself as he walked closer to the dumpster I was crouching behind. My heart was leaping out of my chest, and I was praying that he wouldn't peek behind the dumpster and find me. I could literally hear his breathing to the point that I felt like he was going to find where I was hiding. But then I suddenly heard his footsteps running away from the alleyway. I remained crouched on the ground as I collected myself and wanted to make sure that the man was truly gone. Once I felt like the coast was clear, I ran the rest of the way home, and as soon as I entered, I told my parents what happened. My dad decided to call the police. They arrived at our house in 20 minutes, and they had me explain what exactly happened and which house that man came from to chase me. Once they had that information, they let me and my parents know they would give us an update the next day. They stood by their words and came to find out nobody lived in that house. It had been vacant for years, which didn't make any sense. The police suggested that a homeless man or squatter most likely stayed in that house and for whatever reason decided he wanted to scare me. Nothing was done after that, and when I told my friends, even they were in shock and disbelief. Thanks to that day, I still get scared whenever I pass a house that looks creepy or abandoned. Even with me being 22 now, that day is still fresh in my brain. I come from a rural area in Poland. My country is still very much Christian, so Halloween isn't really widely celebrated. Many older people perceive it as satanic. Still, nowadays, many decorate their porches with stacked pumpkins. Some surprisingly made into jack-o'-lanterns, even in the countryside. At that time, I had a habit of taking my dog Susie for a walk each evening. It was mostly because Susie is rather on the larger side, and going out with her during the day was literally a nightmare. She used to hate kids and cyclists, so she would bark all the time and try to bite them. In the fall, it gets dark here pretty quickly, so 8 p.m. seems practically like the middle of the night. You can't see where you're going if there's no lanterns or streetlights. That day, it was dark already, and so I went out with my dog. There's a small road that I really like going on. It leads from the village supermarket that's quite close to my house to a church. It's not very long. It takes you maybe 10 minutes on foot. On one side of the road there's a forest, and on the other side, a large horse stud. It's pretty obvious that at night the path was practically empty, and you rarely met anyone there. I used to love the autumn vibes. Cold breeze, crunching leaves under your feet, and the feeling of solitude were perfectly nostalgic. I was walking like that, lost in my thoughts. I was approaching the end of the road, where the forest met an old stable which belonged to the local parish priest. As far as I know, it fell out of use many years ago, before I was even born. At that point, I was jolted out of my thoughts by Susie, who suddenly started barking like crazy. I looked around, trying to see if maybe a cyclist or another dog was approaching, but then I realized she was only focused on the stable and the trees. I should mention it was very hard to see anything beyond the tree line, as the streetlights were very dim and old in that place. My dog was acting as if she had literally gone mad, barking, growling, pulling hard on the leash. It wasn't typical of her, even when a bike went right by. I looked into the trees, trying to see what caused her to act so unhinged, and then I saw it. Maybe 10 to 20 meters away, right behind the priest's stable, I could see the silhouette of a man. At first, I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. I thought it must have been a bush. But the closer I looked, I realized it was definitely a person. Judging by the way his clothes reflected the moonlight, he must have been wearing all white. He was kneeling with his back straight, not really hiding, but not exactly in plain sight either. This gave me chills. I realized he was wearing some kind of white robe. He wasn't moving at all, just looking in my direction. I pulled hard on the leash, trying to get Susie to move, but she was stubborn. I told myself there was no way I was staying there a second longer, so I grabbed her by the harness and took off rather quickly. I didn't want to run because I was still unsure if the man realized that I had seen him. Thankfully, the church was only a minute away, and I saw some people standing by it. For a moment, I contemplated telling them about the person, but what would I exactly say? That there was somebody sitting near the bushes? The rest of my way home had to be the most nerve-wracking walk of my life. Every couple of steps, I looked back to make sure no one was following me. Even my dog wasn't sniffing around anymore. She was just walking quickly straight ahead. I did get home without any further problems, but I wish I could say it was the end of my story. That night, I was woken up to multiple sirens wailing. They went off for a good half hour. The next morning, I saw in the local news that somebody had set the priest's stable on fire. People were saying that it was probably some drunk teenagers trying to play a prank and pull stupid tricks, but I knew damn well I hadn't seen giggling teenage boys the previous evening. The person I saw looked disturbingly calm, as if they were waiting for something. There could possibly have been more people hiding in the shed, but if so, I'm happy I didn't actually see them, or I might have had a panic attack. I really don't want to be the one contributing to the propaganda that Halloween is a satanic festival, but what I saw that night was really disturbing. A person wearing white robes, silently kneeling, just out of the reach of the streetlights. What bothers me most is that between the time I saw him and the time of the fire, at least 5 or 6 hours passed. Like, were they kneeling there the whole time? What on earth were they doing there for most of the night? However, I do feel very relieved that he didn't decide to follow or even acknowledge me that night, and that Susie did